Millionaire CEO, stunned by black woman cradling sleeping baby at the office. Marcus Sterling pushed open the glass doors of his downtown skyscraper, the rain drumming sharply against the steel frame. The lobby gleamed, a cold palace of marble and mirrors, as always spotless. The sharp scent of fresh coffee hit him first, rich and bitter, like a promise. The usual low hum of keyboards and quiet chatter filled the air, but something wasn't right. His chest clenched, tight and sudden, like a trap snapping shut. Doubt crawled under his skin. His shoes clicked sharply over the polished floor. He walked fast, eyes scanning for distractions. This was his kingdom. Every corner of the office was mapped in his mind. Every desk, every screen. Today he was to lead the company through another brutal financial quarter, to crush targets and silence doubters. Then his steps slowed, stopped. Right in front of him, a figure that didn't belong. A woman stood there, steady as a rock, calm as the eye of a storm. She held a baby, small, sleeping soundly, swaddled in a soft gray blanket. Her dark skin contrasted sharply with the sterile white walls and cold glass. The baby's tiny chest rose and fell gently. Her arms cradled the child like a shield. Marcus's heart hammered. Who was she? How did she get past security? Why was she here, in this temple of power and profit? People nearby whispered, eyes flicking between Marcus and the woman. A murmur floated faintly. Questions, shock, confusion. He felt their gaze like needles. The air thickened, as if the trust and order he'd built were cracking in that moment. Her eyes lifted slowly, meeting his. They were steady, resolute, something hiding beneath the calm. Marcus's throat tightened. The silence stretched, heavy and loaded. His hand twitched toward his phone, tense fingers poised to call security or demand answers. But then, piercing the thick hush, the shrill ring of his office phone sliced through the room like a warning shot. It echoed off the walls, urgent and relentless. Marcus was torn. On one side, the pressing demands calling him back to his carefully controlled world. On the other, a life that didn't fit, but presence that unsettled everything. His gaze flicked from the woman and baby to the ringing phone, breath catching. The moment hung there, raw and fragile, threatening to shatter the glass fortress around him. His world teetered on a knife's edge. Who was she? What did she want? And why did her stillness shake him more than any storm outside? The office paused with him, waiting for the first move that would change everything. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And while you're there, drop a powerful like. It really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know each incredible person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The air pulsed with tension, electric and palpable. The moment stretched like a tightrope. Marcus's heart thundered in his chest, a primal instinct urging him to take action. Yet he stood rooted, transfixed by the unexpected tableau. The woman, a sentinel with her sleeping baby, held his gaze like an anchor amidst a turbulent sea. Suddenly, another murmur erupted from the staff. "Is she—" The tone was a mix of disbelief and pity. A dozen eyes flitted to Marcus, searching for direction, for a response. The room held its breath, anticipating his next move, as if the world itself was on pause. The hum of keyboards and muffled footsteps fading into oblivion. The phone continued to screech insistently, a maddening reminder of the responsibilities tethering him to his corporate throne. But just as he opened his mouth to speak, the woman began to step forward, her voice smooth, but carrying an unmistakable weight. "Mr. Sterling, I think we need to talk." In that moment, the silence exploded. Marcus felt every heartbeat of the collective audience as they strained to hear. "This is not how I imagined our conversation would start," she continued, unfazed. "But trust me, it's necessary." He frowned, a mixture of confusion and annoyance boiling within him. "You have no business here. You need to leave." Each word dripped with authority, but insecurity flickered beneath it. What game was she playing? "Do you really think you're in control?" she countered, her intensity piercing through his bravado. "This baby—" She paused, her eyes welling up with unshed tears. "This baby is yours." The words landed like a bombshell, reverberating through the marble and glass, shattering the fragile facade of control Marcus had so carefully erected. His mouth fell open, but no sound came out. The whispers crescendoed, a chaotic symphony of disbelief that swept through the office. A laugh, harsh and broken, escaped Marcus's lips. "What do you mean? That's impossible." The room spun. He clutched the edge of a nearby desk. But she stepped closer, and for the first time, he noticed the soft curves of her face, the undeniable resemblance to the child she held. "Do you remember the charity gala 3 years ago?" she pressed, her voice steady despite the tumult of emotions swirling in her depths. "You were lost in your world of money and power." She paused, the weight in her eyes becoming unbearable. "I was just another face in the crowd, but that night, it changed everything." A flicker of memory sparked in Marcus's mind. Dancing, laughter, the taste of champagne. And then, deep, thrumming silence. Had he truly been so reckless? The room swayed around him, reality stretching and warping. "Carmen," he breathed, recognizing her name suddenly, the name of a woman he barely knew, but who had left a mark on his life. The gala, the wild night, it all flashed back with brutal clarity. A night he had sealed behind countless deals and board meetings, buried beneath the weighty expectations of the corporate world. She nodded, her features hardened. "I tried to move on, to raise him alone, but—" Her voice cracked. "Your company is collapsing. I need your help." This isn't just about us. This child is part of a bigger plan you never saw coming. Marcus's entire world tilted, the revelation too vast to comprehend. The stakes weren't merely financial, they were personal, existential. A wave of anger and fear crashed through him, igniting a fire deep within. He had built this empire on cuts and sacrifices, and now his legacy was on the line. In the midst of their confrontation, a loud crash echoed from behind him, the sound of shattering glass. All heads turned, and Marcus felt his breath hitch. A figure stumbled into view, red-faced and frantic. "Marcus, the board just voted against you. You're out." The walls felt like they were collapsing, the foundations cracking under the strain of betrayal. Marcus looked back at Carmen, her eyes searching, piercing, as if they could see through his very soul. The very essence of his life had begun to unravel, and he was left standing at the precipice of his own downfall. What do you do when your greatest threat comes from inside your own heart? Marcus felt the ground shift beneath him, the board's pronouncement crashing over him like a tidal wave. He blinked, stunned. The room spun, absorbing the weight of betrayal. Carmen's gaze bore into him, and for a fleeting moment, he felt the world contract to just her, the sleeping baby, and the impending chaos swirling around them. "Out? What do you mean I'm out?" His voice trembled with disbelief. Panic coiled in his gut, tighter than the grip of a foreign hand around his throat. The air was thick with the scent of expensive cologne and burnt coffee, every breath turning sour in his lungs. The figure who had burst through the glass doors, a junior executive, flushed and out of breath, stammered. "They didn't see a future with you. The numbers," they faltered, as if grappling with the reality themselves. Muffled whispers crackled through the crowd, uncertainty hanging in the air like smoke from an extinguished flame. "No!" Marcus shot back. "This can't be happening." The disbelief transformed into something darker. The shadows of memories clawing at his mind. He had sacrificed everything for this empire. He had crushed dreams and made deals in the dead of night just to be here. He couldn't be pushed aside now. Carmen stepped forward, her voice low and sharp. "You need to understand, Marcus. This isn't just about your job. It's about a future that involves our son." She pointed to the baby, whose tiny chest still rose and fell innocently. "The stakes are higher than you think." But in that moment, another sound shattered the tension. A loud crash echoed through the lobby, pulling every gaze to the second set of glass doors. They swung wildly, revealing a figure cloaked in a long tented robe. Flowing trench coat, hair wild and eyes aflame with urgency. The newcomer seemed to step out of the chaos itself, a dark whirlwind. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice seizing the office like an iron grip. "This is bigger than all of you." The echo of his command rang through the silence, every head turning, drawn by an invisible magnet. The murmurs transformed into a riot of questions, confusion reclaiming the air. Marcus squinted, recognition sparking something cold and dread-filled within him. Oliver? His former mentor, the man who had once handed him the keys to the kingdom, now stood there, a ghost from the past, ripped free. Yes, Marcus, it's me, and you need to know the truth. Oliver's gaze flared with intensity as he approached, weaving through the stunned crowd. Carmen didn't just come to confront you about that child. She's got a reason for being here, one that could unravel everything. What are you talking about? Marcus snapped, anger boiling beneath the surface. You've already ruined everything. Why are you here? This child is a pawn in a game none of us ever wanted to play. Oliver's words rushed forward like a river flooding its banks. I've known for years. He was never just a mistake, he was... With a thunderous crash, the remaining glass doors shattered, sending shards into the air, glittering like stars. In an instant, a squad of armed men surged in, their uniforms glinting ominously under the fluorescent lights. Gasps echoed, a collective intake of breaths filling the void. Everyone, get down, Oliver shouted. As chaos erupted, the board members ducked, screaming, filling the air. Carmen instinctively shielded the baby, moving directly in front of Marcus, a barrier of courage against the encroaching danger. Amidst the tumult, Marcus's world splintered again, a revelation bursting forth from the wreckage of his understanding. What is happening? He shouted through the chaos, desperate to grasp the threads of understanding slipping from his fingers. But before Oliver could explain, the lead armed man stepped forward. We know everything, Marcus. It's time to pay the debts you didn't know you owed. Marcus felt his heart lurch, the profound weight of revelation crashing over him like a dark wave, ready to pull him under. Just when he thought he grasped the truth of his life, everything crashed down into the abyss. And at that moment, as chaos reigned around him, Marcus realized the true nature of everything: his empire, his legacy, the child, even Carmen, was a puzzle waiting to be unraveled, and he stood at the center of it, blindfolded, on the edge of a precipice he never saw coming. The chaos enveloped the office like a suffocating fog, the fear palpable, stirring hearts into a frantic rhythm. Glass shards crunched beneath hurried feet, while screams and shouts filled the air, a jarring symphony of panic that threatened to eclipse his thoughts. Marcus stood frozen, caught in a whirlwind of dread and urgency, unable to process the chaos as the armed men advanced. "Stay behind me," Carmen urged, her resolve glinting in her dark eyes as she shielded the baby with her body. Marcus's instincts roared to life, but he could barely think, his world collapsing under the weight of urgency surrounding him. "Sir," the lead armed man barked, voice cutting through the tumult like a blade. "You've planned." With each heartbeat, another fragment of truth began to align. "What do you want? Money? I can give you whatever you need." His voice strained under the weight of desperation, but inside, thunderous questions rushed over him like waves. Another gunman moved across the crowd, sweeping a glance over the chaos, when suddenly A loud click echoed, a sound that definitively quelled the commotion. The collective breaths held steady, silence now enveloping them like a thick blanket. Enough! A figure stepped in front of the armed men, her presence commanding and fierce, holding a briefcase that slid open, glossy and dense with power. It was Elena, his right-hand woman, the very one he thought he could trust. "We need to end this charade." As shock rippled through the assembly, Marcus felt his heart plunge. The air charged with anticipation, thick with unwelcome realization. "Elena, what are you doing here?" Her gaze hardened like steel, unwavering and relentless. "You need to know the truth. The company isn't just in danger, it's a distraction. We've known all along about the impending financial collapse, but we also knew about this." She gestured to Carmen and the baby, her expression betraying nothing. "You were never meant to lead us. You were merely a puppet." "Mere distraction?" The words sputtered from his lips, disbelief shadowing his confusion. "What do you mean?" "Carmen is part of a larger scheme, one designed by me. This child," she hesitated, a grim smirk tracing her lips, "isn't just yours, Marcus. He's the key to taking down our real enemy, the Thompsons." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Everything he thought he knew shattered. The Thompsons? But why? "Because they hold the strings, Marcus. They've manipulated your every decision for years. You've been set against your own blood without even realizing it. Your legacy, this empire, it was all part of their plan." Her voice raised sharply, urgency fracturing the facade. As the realization sank in, Marcus felt the ground beneath him destabilize. Anger surged through him, turbulent and raw. "You betrayed me," he hissed, eyes narrowing. It felt as if the world tilted on its axis. Every bond, every connection redefined in a heartbeat. Across the office, a woman emerged from the shadows, pale and fragile, eyes filled with unshed tears. It was the office's HR manager, Anna, trembling as she stepped into the light. I couldn't stay silent any longer," she whispered. I'm sorry for what I did." In her hand, a file fluttered like a broken wing, revealing papers upon papers, detailing unethical practices, accounts that stretched far beyond Marcus's imagination. Elena's gaze faltered, momentarily revealing a hidden crack, and Marcus seized the moment. The pieces fell into place with dizzying speed. He remembered late nights in dark boardrooms, decisions made in secrecy, deals cemented with blood-stained hands. The room swelled with whispers, heightened tension vibrating through each body. It became painfully clear. This was about more than the company. It was about everything he had built and believed in. "Marcus," Carmen began, her voice quivering, pulling him back from the precipice. But he turned, cutting her off with a wave. "No more lies, no more games." The air pulsed with expectation, everything hanging in the balance, and Marcus faced the abyss of uncertainty. If this child is part of their plan, then so am I. As the shadows loomed and secrets bared their fangs, he drew a breath as heavy as lead. Out of chaos, clarity ignited, a path revealed in shattering moments. He would take them all down, and for once, he wouldn't do it alone. What had begun as chaos could lead to redemption, but the price would be higher than he ever imagined. He locked eyes with Carmen and Anna, a steely resolve igniting beneath the surface. This battle was far from over, and as he made his decision, a chilling realization coursed through him. Betrayal always had a cost, and he wasn't sure he'd emerge from this with his soul intact. He was the storm now, and storms decimated everything in their path. What hidden truths would he unearth in his quest for vengeance? In a world where alliances shifted like quicksand, who could he truly trust? The air crackled with tension, and Marcus felt the suffocating weight of betrayal looming, every heartbeat echoing in anticipation. Eyes darted between him, Carmen, and Elena. The world around them blurred into a stream of urgency, yet the stakes felt impossibly clear. He was at the center of an unraveling storm, hands trembling with a resolve he didn't fully comprehend. "Marcus!" Elena's voice rang sharp, a whip crack of authority amidst the chaos, but he couldn't focus on her anymore. A lifetime of alliances lay in tatters around him, and the specter of power loomed large, dark, and menacing. Before he could process the implications of her revelation, the tension shattered once more. The lights flickered ominously, a harbinger of the catastrophe about to unfold. The armed men shifted, their attention wavering, as an unseen force cascaded. "What now?" someone muttered, anxiety coating the words. Suddenly, the ground vibrated beneath them, an unnerving thrum pulsing like a heartbeat. And without warning, the sound of distant explosions echoed through the building. Rooms rattled, and the walls trembled as chaos ignited anew. "Everyone get down!" Oliver shouted, instincts kicking in. But it was too late. The very foundation of the building began to shake, glass and metal shattering around them. A cataclysm in motion. In the aftermath of the cacophony, a shadow loomed. A figure emerged from the dust and chaos, cloaked in a shimmering cloak made of something otherworldly. The crowd gasped in a unified breath. Eyes widened, disbelief coursing through them like electricity. "Your mother wishes to meet you," the figure intoned, voice layered with reverberations that twisted the air into a cauldron of confusion. The identity of this newcomer spun the room into a whirlwind of whispers, a collective gasp rippling like a stone tossed into still water. A jolt of recognition struck Marcus. "What do you mean?" His voice cracked under the strain, words stumbling into the open. "Mother?" "Yes, Marcus. The one you thought lost to time," the figure continued, stepping forward with a presence that commanded the attention of every heart in the room. "You are her legacy, her only child. You carry not just her blood, but the weight of a shattered empire built from lies." Next to him, Carmen's face turned pinched with incredulity, the truth hitting her like a thunderous wave. "What are you saying?" she whispered, disbelief transforming into horror. But as Marcus wrestled with the shocking revelation, her clenched fists betrayed an unexpected tension. A flicker of something darker danced in her eyes, a shadow lurking just beneath her composed surface. "Don't you see, Marcus?" The figure leaned closer, intent gaze locked onto his. "Your mother's return could redefine the future of everything. But it comes at a cost. You must choose. Confront your past, or let it consume you." Panic surged in Marcus's chest, visceral as fists of ice clenching around his heart. But more importantly, his world tilted again. "Carmen, you knew?" The air thickened with unspoken words, too heavy to bear. Carmen hesitated, a wave of emotion crashing over her features. "I didn't know. Not everything, I swear." But the figure cut her off, attention unwavering. A child of two worlds, torn between realms of responsibility and desire. But heed this, Marcus. Darkness has been circling for far too long. The Thompsons are just pawns, and they will stop at nothing to bring your mother down. The truth of your existence could unravel them, but it could also unravel you. With a rush of revelation, an electric shock coursed through the crowd, igniting uncertainty and fear. Marcus felt the weight of the truth pressing down like a vice, bending reality until it threatened to snap. "Is this all a game?" Marcus shouted into the chaos, demands spilling forth from raw desperation. The figure, now too familiar, leaned closer as the walls collapsed around them, shadows folding into deeper darkness. "The stakes are no longer about simply protecting your name, Marcus. They are about protecting your legacy." And as the truth took root within him, twisted and knotted, Marcus locked eyes with Carmen, shadows of betrayal flickering in her emerald depths. Everything he thought he knew was unraveling beneath him, pulling taut like a wire stretched to its limits. The consequence of revelation loomed ever so close. The sharp edge of a cliff curling beneath their feet. Here, at the precipice of fate, the quest for power versus truth teetered dangerously. The pieces were set, and the weight of choice lingered in the air. Who could he trust when truth itself felt like a weapon? And what would unfold next in this tangled game of shadows? Marcus stood at the precipice of revelation, the air crackling with tension, a storm of fear and uncertainty swirling around him. Carmen's eyes flickered with a myriad of emotions, anger, betrayal, confusion, as the figure before him, shrouded in mystery, loomed larger than life. The whispers of the onlookers crescendoed, forming a dissonant choir that only heightened the frantic beating of his heart. "Your mother wishes to meet you," the figure echoed. His voice layered with an otherworldly reverberation. The words dug into Marcus's mind like daggers, twisting in the confusion of his thoughts. He felt the ground shifting beneath him, but within the chaos, a pulse of urgency gripped him tightly. "Meet me?" Marcus echoed, glancing wildly at Carmen, who looked as if she was caught between defiance and despair. He felt the weight of another secret pressing down, voices clashing like thunder in a storm. Before he could process the implications, The world around him rippled as if The emergency lights overhead flickered, casting unsettling shadows that danced and teased. The armed men exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping into their hardened expressions, while Oliver's posture faltered, tension overtaking his once commanding presence. In the midst of all this, the walls shook, reverberating through Marcus's bones. Panic surged as something unexpected thudded against the floor, an envelope fluttering like a wounded bird. It tumbled toward him, the bold crimson seal branding it like a warning. "What is that?" Carmen asked, her voice sharp with concern. Before Marcus could answer, he found himself drawn to the envelope, compelled to reach out. As he grasped it, a sudden silence enveloped the room. The collective breath of the onlookers held tight in their throats. He hesitated, looking at the figure before him. Confusion clouded his mind. "Open it," the figure urged, eyes locked onto Marcus with piercing intensity. With trembling hands, Marcus tore the envelope open, the weight of inevitability looming heavily in the air. He unfolded the letter, his vision blurring as he read the first chilling lines. A lineage revealed, a lineage entwined with secrets darker than he'd ever imagined. The words exploded in his mind, rearranging everything he thought he knew. To Marcus, heir to the sterling legacy, your true parentage is not what you've been told. Each line struck like a lightning bolt, illuminating shadows of deception that had long lurked in his life. "What?" he gasped, incredulity swelling as he scanned the rest. "This can't be. The Thompsons are not your enemies. They're your family," the figure interrupted, voice heavy with importance. "They've protected you all along." Gasps rippled through the crowd, faces turning pale as they processed the staggering revelation. Carmen's hands trembled against the baby, eyes wide with disbelief. "This can't be possible." But Marcus was lost in the devastation of truth, his entire world collapsing like a house of cards. "You're lying," he shouted, voice breaking under the pressure of betrayal. Every alliance, every bond now marred by manipulation. "Look into your heart, Marcus. The legacy you sought to escape is intertwined with your fate. There are forces at work that you can't begin to fathom." The figure stepped closer, urgency lacing his tone. "It's time for you to claim what's yours, or risk losing everything." Before he could process the weight of the revelation, a blinding flash erupted from the lobby. Shadows creeping in, surrounding them like a tempest. A sudden explosion of chaos engulfed the room, and the air turned acrid with smoke, sending people staggering. "Get down!" Oliver shouted amidst the tumult. But it was already too late. As the world around him erupted, Marcus felt the ground shift violently. Then, emerging from the haze, he saw a glimmer flicker in the shadows. A figure, familiar yet foreign, stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malevolent delight. "You've been chasing shadows, Marcus. The truth was always closer than you thought." In that instant, clarity pierced through the chaos. A jolt of realization that shook him to his core, because standing before him was someone he never expected to see. Someone who had played both sides, weaving deception like a master puppeteer. "Lara?" Marcus's voice cracked, disbelief crashing over him like a tidal wave. "You?" "Yes, dear brother," she purred, a smile rising in the darkness. "Welcome to the family reunion you never asked for." And as the truth tumbled into place, Marcus felt the threads of allegiance unravel, the weight of betrayal coiling tighter around him. He was spiraling deeper into the web, the dark dance only beginning as chaos erupted fully around him, leaving him gasping in a world of twisted loyalties. Who could he trust when the very fabric of his existence had just unraveled? In the rising storm, the stakes had changed drastically, and Marcus stood at the eye of a hurricane, holding secrets capable of toppling empires. The air thickened with tension, shock rippling through Marcus as he locked eyes with Lara. Chaos buzzed around him, muffled shouts and panicked breaths creating a pulse of noise that began to feel surreal, almost like a distant echo. His heart raced, each thud hammering against his ribs, a primal instinct, alive and raw, forcing him to confront the inconceivable truth unveiled before him. "Welcome to the family reunion you never asked for." The words dripped from Lara's lips, tainted with victory. Yet beneath her mask of arrogance flickered something darker, a flicker of fear, perhaps, just at the edges of those deep-set eyes. The room seemed to constrict around him, air thick as molasses, suffocating and heavy. In that suspended moment, the reality morphed into something monstrous and terrifying. As the whispers ignited, voices merging into a chaotic hum, Marcus attempted to wrap his mind around it. Lara was somehow intertwined in this web of lies. But how deep did the roots run? And then, as if summoned by his desperation, a scream pierced through the din. "No! Marcus, don't believe her. She's lying." In that instant, a violent surge of pain erupted within Marcus's chest. A searing realization bolted through him. Was he caught in a trap designed by someone he had trusted? Everything he had built, every alliance he thought strong, crumbled into dust. But before he could lash out, the earthquake of realization rolled over him, unwinding a horrible truth. The shadows behind Lara danced, transforming into figures he had long thought distant echoes of a fractured past. Marcus, a new voice broke through the chaos, sharp and haunting. It belonged to his mother, her silhouette shimmering as she stepped into the fray, another layer unraveling before his bewildered eyes. "It's time you knew who you really are." "Mother?" The word escaped him like a whisper of a dying dream. He stared into her eyes, desperate to find the love that once existed. But instead, he unearthed a chilling detachment that turned his blood to ice. "I never meant for you to find out like this, but the truth is," she paused, the weight of the moment curling around her words, "you are not just heir to the Sterling legacy. You're a pawn in an ancient curse, a generational cycle We never truly escaped the claws of the Thompsons. You've been groomed for a purpose far greater than this corporate mess. A collective gasp echoed throughout the room, like a tidal wave crashing down. Carmen staggered back, stunned disbelief washing over her features. "This is madness," she choked, her voice a frantic tremor. But the truth, the ugly, sickening truth, threatened to swallow Marcus whole. He could hear the room breathing in and out, hearts quickening, as eyes darted back and forth, searching for meaning in the chaos. "We are bound by blood," Lara interjected, stepping closer, her tone darkening. Pain danced just behind her bravado. "You, Marcus, were meant to break the cycle or join the titans of the past. But there's more." Before she could finish, the chandelier overhead trembled, a crack, resounding like thunder, and Marcus braced for impact. Crystals rained down, showering the chaos with a sparkling demise. Hands flew to heads instinctively, the scene erupting into a cacophony of fear and panic. Yet amidst the tumult, Marcus felt the enormity of the truth solidify in his chest. Power, family, betrayal. It was all intertwined in a twisted tapestry of fate. The revelation struck him deeper than any fear he had faced before. "What else don't I know?" he demanded, voice laced with raw desperation. An ancient ghost rising from within to confront the family legacy. A looming silence settled over the crowd, the weight of every truth finally crashing together. The path ahead stretched out dark and uncertain, fraught with shadows from betrayal and ambition. Would he rise against that curse? With his family crumbling around him, one thing was certain. He was prepared to tear this facade apart, piece by piece. Would the consequences of the choices he made send him spiraling into darkness? The moment hung suspended, and every heartbeat carried the weight of fate. The answer loomed ahead in the smoke of revelation. Marcus braced himself to discover just how deep the roots of this conspiracy ran. The air thickened with tension, shock rippling through Marcus as he locked eyes with Lara. Chaos buzzed around him, muffled shouts and panicked breaths, creating a pulse of noise that felt almost surreal. The floors vibrated beneath them, the world narrowing into a solitary focus, drawing all eyes to the familial confrontation unraveling in real time. "Your mother wishes to meet you." The figure's voice echoed ominously, words hanging like a storm cloud above their heads. As the reality of her words sank in, the dimmed lights pulsed ominously, flickering like the last breaths of hope. "Mother?" The word escaped Marcus's lips, disbelief turning his pulse hollow as he stared at the woman who had claimed his very existence, was intertwined with a legacy he had only begun to comprehend. Gasps erupted from the crowd, horrified whispers, and sidelong glances. Without warning, the ground shuddered again, but this time it felt more profound. A rumbling, not from the fire of betrayal, but from something deeper. A flicker of panic ignited in Marcus's chest, fear coiling within him. "Get down!" Oliver screamed, eyes wide as he pushed through the chaos. But it was too late. The floor heaved, a violent lurch of reality. Then, the figure veiled in shadows, this specter of family, turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "This isn't just about you, Marcus. We don't have time for this." "What do you mean?" he shouted, hand clenching into a fist as adrenaline surged. But before answers could materialize, the blast of energy surged upwards, ripping the fabric of the office apart. With a deafening crack, a burst of light exploded from beneath the floor. A shocking white that dazzled and blinded. The room trembled as the source, a hidden trapdoor, erupted upward, stones and power cracking and rising in a maelstrom. As berserk chaos enveloped them, stones flew like meteors in a night sky. Glass shattered, reflecting shards of panic, split between expectation and an impending doom. The armed men faltered, a collective gasp cascading through the crowd as the floor gaped open, revealing a gaping void, dark and bottomless. Out of it spilled not just dust, but figures cloaked in black, stepping forth like phantoms from a nightmare, their eyes gleaming with intent. A low chant thrummed through the room, vibrations thundering, a chilling resonance aligning with the chaos unfurling, unearthing. "What is happening?" screamed Carmen, clutching the baby closer, eyes darting over the encroaching chaos. The air shifted as Marcus faced not just his mother, but a legacy's tumult beyond his comprehension. Then abruptly, amidst the turmoil, something slammed into Marcus's side. He stumbled, turned to find a forgotten piece of paper. The source of all this madness, a letter cascading softly toward the ground. He picked it up, vision narrowing to the delicate script penned unmistakably in his mother's hand. "Marcus, you don't know the truth," it began, and he felt time freeze, anticipation beating against his chest like a drum. But that was when horror descended like a shroud. A familiar voice sliced through the tension. Charged with venom, disbelief slithering unease through the crowd as Laura stepped forward, eyes blazing with a recognition that shattered all remnants of control. Mother Laura's tone was laced with a chaos of emotions. Wretched betrayal, haunting resolve. "You were never meant to bear the legacy alone. You're not just family. You're an impediment." And that single utterance, each word hanging slowly, a dagger dripping with razor-edge truth, turned everything Marcus thought he knew into whispers of ash. "Impediment? What are you saying?" His heart thundered, reality splintering with newfound disbelief. In that moment, mother and daughter exchanged glances as the chant crescendoed, the fabric of familial ties unraveling ahead of him. The letter whispered accusations against everything he had known. An unexpected ancestry cloaked in shadows. Marcus stood teetering, heart slamming against his ribs. The truth loomed ahead, dark and beckoning, fueled by chaos, roiling with betrayal. As the ground quaked beneath him, the meaning of legacy morphed, identity fragmenting in the chaos. His world spun, Who could be trusted now? Which family ties were forged and which severed? One thought echoed in the void. It wasn't just his past that was at stake. It was the future, the child in Carmen's arms, and every choice he had yet to make. And in the charged turmoil, one last question begged an answer. What had he unleashed? The air thickened with tension, shock rippling through Marcus as he locked eyes with Lara. Chaos buzzed around him, muffled shouts and panicked breaths, creating a pulse of noise that felt almost surreal. The floors vibrated beneath them, the world narrowing into a solitary focus, drawing all eyes to the familial confrontation unraveling in real time. Your mother wishes to meet you. The figure's voice echoed ominously, words hanging like a storm cloud above their heads. As the reality of her words sank in, the dimmed lights pulsed ominously, flicker. Mother? The word escaped Marcus's lips, disbelief turning his pulse hollow as he stared at the woman who had claimed his very existence was intertwined with a legacy he had only begun to comprehend. Gasps erupted from the crowd, horrified whispers, and sidelong glances traded like currency among the spectators, an audience to his unraveling life. But the moments stretched, pierced by the sound of crumbling chaos. An echoing boom reverberated through the lobby. Without warning, the ground shuddered again, but this time it felt more profound. A rumbling, not from the fire of betrayal, but from something deeper. A flicker of panic ignited in Marcus's chest, fear coiling within him. "Get down!" Oliver screamed. Then, the figure, veiled in shadows, this specter of family, turned sharply, eyes narrowing. "This isn't just about you, Marcus. We don't have time for this." "What do you mean?" he shouted, hand clenching into a fist as adrenaline surged. But before answers could materialize, the blast of energy surged upwards, ripping the fabric of the office apart. With a deafening crack, a burst of light exploded from beneath the floor, a shocking white that dazzled and blinded. The room trembled as the source, a hidden trapdoor, erupted upward, stones and power cracking and rising in a maelstrom. As berserk chaos enveloped them, stones flew like meteors in a night sky. Glass shattered, reflecting shards of panic, split between expectation and an impending doom. The armed men faltered, a collective gasp cascading through the crowd, as the floor gaped open, revealing a gaping void, dark and bottomless. Out of it spilled not just dust, but figures cloaked in black, stepping forth like phantoms from a nightmare, their eyes gleaming with intent. A low chant thrummed through the room, vibrations thundering, a chilling resonance aligning with the chaos unfurling, unearthing secrets long buried. "We've come for what is ours," one of the newcomers declared, voice authoritative and fractured by intensity. "What is happening?" screamed Carmen, clutching the baby closer, eyes darting over the encroaching chaos. The air shifted as Marcus faced not just his mother, but a legacy's tumult beyond his comprehension. Then, abruptly, amidst the turmoil, something slammed into Marcus's side. He stumbled, turned to find a forgotten piece of paper, the source of all this madness, a letter cascading softly toward the ground. He picked it up, vision narrowing to the delicate script penned unmistakably in his mother's hand. "Marcus, you don't know the truth," it began, and he felt time freeze, anticipation beating against his chest like a drum. But that was when horror descended like a shroud. A familiar voice sliced through the tension, charged with venom, disbelief slithering unease through the crowd, as Lara stepped forward, eyes blazing with a recognition that shattered all remnants of control. "Mother." Lara's tone was laced with a chaos of emotions, wretched betrayal, haunting resolve. "You were never meant to bear the legacy alone. You're not just family, you're an impediment." And that single utterance, each word hanging slowly, a dagger dripping with razor-edged truth, turned everything Marcus thought he knew into whispers of ash. "Impediment? What are you saying?" His heart thundered, reality splintering with newfound disbelief. Lara stepped closer, her voice growing colder, tinged with an unnerving sincerity. "You were meant to be part of something greater, Marcus. Something revolutionary. But your mother sabotaged it all." Marcus's world spun again. "Sabotaged? You mean she—" "Yes. She thought she could protect you, but all she did was chain you to the past." And then, before Marcus could retreat from the impending revelation, Lara pointed a finger at Carmen. "You all think you can save him? You're gravely mistaken. The baby is not just a child. He is a key to powers you can't even begin to fathom." The room fell deathly silent. All eyes turned to Carmen, a murmur of disbelief rallying among the crowd, her expression blanched as the enormity of Lara's claim surged like an electric shock through the air. "Carmen, tell me it isn't true!" Marcus shouted, desperation clawing at him. But Carmen stood frozen, firm, yet trembling, caught between a whirlwind of truths tearing at the seams of her world. The ground trembled again, this time with an urgency that seemed to pulse as if alive. And then came the explosion, the sudden, breathtaking fracturing of their fragile reality. The walls bulged outward, as if the very foundation of their lies wanted free. A crack formed beneath Carmen's feet, the earth splitting, drawing gasp from the onlookers. With a sudden rush, something dark surged up from the void, a shadow taking form, a creature forged from desperation, chaos, and pain. Something birthed from the horrible truth of their shared history. "Now you see." The creature, drenched in shadows, spoke with multiple voices, merging into one haunting melody. "The cycle continues, unless you embrace who you truly are." As the darkness surged, Marcus felt a freezing grip around his heart. He understood then. The betrayal, his mother's silence, the weight of legacy. It was only the beginning. The monster had come not just for them, but to reclaim what had been hidden. The truth that would thread through every life intertwined within this merciless web. And in the heart of that growing darkness, one question clawed at his mind. What had they unleashed, and at what cost? The chaos swirled around them, a tornado of fear and uncertainty. Marcus stared into the creature, twisted shadows rising and falling with its every exhale. Lara stood frozen, the truth washing over her like a cold wave. Carmen cradled the baby, their innocent breaths a stark contrast to the storm brewing. "Enough!" Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the madness like a beacon. "You think you can control this? You're wrong." He stepped forward, fists clenched, ready to stand against the darkness. The creature hissed, sensing his defiance. "You are part of this cycle. Embrace it or be consumed." But Marcus felt a surge of something fierce rise within him. It wasn't just about him anymore. It was about the baby, about Carmen, about breaking the cycle of power and betrayal. "I won't let you dictate who I am," he declared, each word laced with a newfound strength. Carmen nodded, her grip tightening around the baby. "We will fight this together," she affirmed. "This isn't just about blood or legacy. It's about love." The creature paused, hesitating at the raw emotion coursing between them. In that moment, the connection solidified, a powerful light igniting within Marcus. He reached for Carmen's hand, their fingers interlocking as he turned to Lara. "Sister, we need you. This family can't break apart anymore. We have to break the cycle, not just for us, but for the future." Lara hesitated, eyes darting between the creature and her brother. "But, no buts," Marcus interrupted, his voice steady. "It's time to choose, Lara. Side with us. Together, we can rewrite this story. We can end the darkness that has haunted our family for too long." Suddenly, the dark creature lunged forward, its shadow swirling like a tempest. But just as swiftly, a blinding light erupted from their united hands. The light pushed back the darkness, illuminating the room in a brilliant glow that melted the shadow away. Gasps echoed through the crowd, a collective breath released as the creature dissipated, leaving nothing but a whisper in its wake. As the light faded, silence enveloped them. Marcus looked around, taking in the stunned expressions, the hope rising like a phoenix from the ashes of fear. The surge of love and strength had shattered more than just the creature. It had broken the chains binding them to the past. "What just happened?" Lara asked, still in shock, yet something glimmered in her eyes. Understanding, acceptance. "It's over," Marcus replied, breathing in the newfound freedom. "We will start anew." Carmen smiled, a mixture of relief and resolve on her face. It felt as if a weight had been lifted. A future opened up where the shadows used to loom. In the weeks that followed, they rebuilt. Reconnection forged from the embers of betrayal. Each of them, including Lara, reconciled with their past, embracing the complexities of their family with wisdom instead of fear. The shadows might have left, but the bond among them grew stronger. A tapestry threaded with vibrant colors of hope, love, and resilience. As Marcus held his son for the first time, he understood. This child carried not just their legacy, but their future. Together, they transformed the shadows into something beautiful. As the sun set on the horizon, casting golden hues across their new beginning, a soft breeze swept through the room, carrying with it whispers of possibilities yet to come. The air felt charged with a new story waiting to unfold, one that would shape generations beyond their understanding. And deep within the quiet, a forgotten file slipped from the desk, a small stack of papers revealing a hidden path, a list of connections yet to be explored. You must subscribe now to never miss exclusive stories that are unfolding. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm's hunger. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Share this video right now with at least 5 friends who need to know how this ends. Don't wait another second to share.